The voices, the tiny toony loony voices. I must go back to Acme Acres.
2 steps forward,
I take 2 steps back,
we come together.
'cause I'm dressed like a cat.
You know, it ain't fiction.
Just a natural fact,
We come together.
'cause I'm dressed like a cat.
Hi, I'm Mike Dane, the Phan-Boi, crawling into my subcultural semi-corner to view Tiny Toon Adventures. It was an animated Saturday morning cartoon show produced by Warner Bros. Debuting in the early 90s when Steven Spielberg wanted to get in on that market, and of course it spun off into obscure comics, hard video games, etc. It even had some specials which can be pretty hard to find. Coming out of that whole teenage craze phase at the time, it was an attempt to modernize and kidify the old Looney Tunes stable. So all of these characters have a predecessor. Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, Elmer Fudd, Yosemite Sam, etc. Pretty much everyone got a successor. Everyone. Well, except for maybe like one semi-original character. Though sometimes the complete opposite seems to be the case, as the characters of Babs and Shirley might have been kind of predecessors for Lola and Tina respectively. But as it turns out, they've had predecessors even way back in the old cartoons. And you know what? Long sidebar. Yeah, I like the original 90s version of Lola. So am I latent furry. What of it? No, it's not that I wanna fuck bunnies. It's just that, well, if I happen to be an anthropomorphic bunny guy, then yeah, that's the kind of girlfriend I'd want, ultimately ideally. Or to put it another way, if she was human like me, then yeah, like I just said, that's the kind of girlfriend I'd want, ultimately ideally. Ever since the old fables, anthropomorphic animals have always entertained us one way or another, so why not do it in this way as well? Look, I know about that whole stereotype, and yeah, maybe it hasn't always worked out for the female superheroes, but after all, what's wrong with being sexy and strong? Just as long as you're not a tease either. It's certainly better than that stupid stalker in the more modern show, which I didn't really care for. Why a house in the suburbs instead of a central apartment? Anyway, they then presented them with more or less a twist to the character. They were either hip, neat freaks, get it because he's a pig, overtly attached, greedy to a fault, and in some cases pretty much the same. But since they weren't actually technically related to the original characters, and to fit in with the whole teenage theme, they were all attending high school, being taught by the originals to become Toons, though they kinda already were. Yeah, I know, very meta. Actually, thinking about it, doesn't that kinda sound like some sort of Disney sitcom? But anyway again. Wouldn't it be a horrible place to go? Everybody is always out to get you. Literally. Sometimes even in your sleep. Actually, that does sound a lot like our world. But at least your local schoolyard bully only took your lunch money. He wasn't actually eating you. How could these kids just say casually calm in class when their friend went at them just the other day? Yeah, that must be awkward. And I thought my elementary school were bad. So the show itself tried to strike that mix of educating then curling kids with the elements of the old classic cartoon shorts. You know, sometimes in this, it becomes nearly too tempting not to compare companies, Marvel/DC and so on. And as such, let me go on. It's been said that old school Disney was classical music and Warner Bros. Were jazz. Well, on TV in the 90s, the Big D were rock and WB were pop. Meant in a broad sense, of course, since both tried the other more or less at some point. Also ironic, since this show said adventure in the very title, and I don't think any Disney shows ever really did. The Warren of the Bunny, yes, I'm calling it that, succeeded where the House of the Mouse failed, just like old times. Where Disney had the fantastical adventures, this could afford to be referring to current culture. Heck, entire episodes were devoted to do just that. Now, it might be easy to think that it would seem forced or lame with all their trying to appeal to kids in a yo-yo what's up doc kind of way, but it never really went overboard with it. But while not having much continuity, it did have its moments when they went through all that stuff of going to the prom, maybe becoming boy and girlfriend, you know. Though it didn't always turn out altogether well, and the show could become quite preachy when trying to warn against swearing, smoking and drinking. One might even say that it became beer bad. So generally speaking, it managed to find a good balance. Apart from that, it also continued the grand tradition of parody, whether it was the celebrities themselves or the music and movies they did. Mostly it was Warner Bros.' own features for copyright reasons, but they definitely weren't above taking a swing at the distinguished competition, which I believe Disney only did a few couple of times. It even becomes a bit funnier when you think of WB's own later less than stellar productions, which they'd continue to make fun of more or less in their other shows, whether sooner or later intentionally or incidentally.
I'll go to your house and I'll live forever and ever and ever, and you'll never ever ever get tired of me, and I'll go hippity hop right straight into your heart.
Irony!
Maybe something a little more manly.
Prepare to fry, you insignificant slug!
Irony!
In fact, the show seemed to be pretty split down the middle. One half was about the parodies and meta comments, the other was about them just being kids. So to summarize, while all the parodies were funnier, the high school stuff were more interesting, and as long as nobody really got hurt, it's all part of the fun. And at this point, we all know what were to follow. And finally, now my review is done.
I guess it's deeply rooted in my childhood. I mean, ever since I was little, I've always been attracted to girls, and I grew up watching all these animated shows. Maybe it made some weird chemical connection in my mind or something. Plus, I've got all this fur myself, you know. Anyway, how much do I owe you?